Back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you on our Radio Northwest network, I should say. We're live to the entire Pacific Northwest, to Oregon, to Washington, and Idaho, and I at least try to make this show serve the Northwest states by providing honestly provocative talk on a daily basis. I think the people of Washington state, and to a certain extent Oregon as well, have a great opportunity this year. Across the country, Democrats have decided, if they're serving in Congress right now, that they want to get the heck out of Dodge. That they've decided 29 or 30 of them have now announced, I'm not even going to run again because I'm probably going to get beat this coming fall. It's also an opportunity, though, not just to replace Democrat members of Congress, but also to replace some of the Republican rhinos. Dan Newhouse is one of those I'd like to see replaced. I'd also like to see Jamie Herrera Butler replaced, who is officially a Republican, but really a Republican in name only in Washington's 3rd Congressional District. And I have a dog in the fight there because I am one of her constituents, and an unhappy one at that. So I'd like to see her replaced. There are a number of people running to replace her, notably Joe Kent and, of course, Heidi St. John, who joins me now. Heidi, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Lars. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to do it. I had somebody ask the other day, do you put Heidi on more than Joe Kent? And I said, no, they both get about the same amount of time. But I want to ask you about something. I have had, we try to make sure that everything's equitable, although equity is not our interest. Equality of opportunity is our interest because I don't believe in equity.
That's the American way.
That's it. Do it based on merit. Otherwise, you end up with things like Joe Biden saying, I'm going to choose somebody for one of the most important jobs a president can choose, Supreme Court, based on skin color and gender, which seems like a terrible way to do it.
And Martin Luther King's rolling in his grave.
He is absolutely rolling in his grave. But I want to ask you, I've had more questions about the ads that you're running about Joe Kent. And I've also had some other questions about, shouldn't Heidi be going after Jamie Herrera Butler instead of going after Joe Kent? But tell me how you're characterizing your opponent, because it's clear the race is really between the two of you, I think, although you still have to, one of you has to be Jamie Herrera Butler. Tell me this, how do you characterize Joe Kent, and are you questioning his conservative credentials?
I'm absolutely questioning his conservative credentials. Listen, if somebody wants to serve the citizens of Southwest Washington State as a conservative in one of the highest positions of government in the nation, he should have a record of conservatism. And Joe Kent has no record. He was a Portland Democrat in 2012. He remained a registered Democrat in Oregon for 8 years, voted in the 2020 Democratic primary, according to his own admission, for Bernie Sanders. And he's brand new to the Republican Party, so hey, welcome. But when you're brand new to the church, I don't make you the Pope. I put you on the committee to stand at the door and start greeting people. You start out as a greeter. And it bothers me that we've got somebody running to represent us that has literally no voting record of conservatism, no record at all. And that bothers me greatly.
Okay, now you don't buy his explanation. He says, yeah, I registered as a Democrat so I could vote in the primary and vote for the weakest possible opponent for the Democrats or for the Republican who was running.
Yeah, he said that he had to make up a phony excuse about Operation Chaos, except for Operation Chaos was from 2008. And also, by the time the Oregon primary came around, Bernie had long since been out of the race. So why vote for him unless on some level you support him? It also doesn't explain why he retweets Bernie Sanders and said, hey, yeah, Bernie Sanders is right. Listen, Bernie Sanders isn't right. No. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. And so retweeting him and then calling yourself a conservative is just bizarre to me. I don't understand it. Retweeting his rhetoric makes me suspicious. Listen, voting for Bernie in the primary was bad enough, but retweeting him as a conservative candidate to represent Southwest Washington and replace Jamie Herrera Butler, we've already got problems with Jamie Herrera Butler. Whoever replaces her needs to have a proven track record of conservatism. It bothers me that Joe just moved to Southwest Washington after living in Portland and voting as a Democrat in Portland. And I think the citizens of Southwest Washington are looking for somebody who's going to actually go as a conservative and run as a conservative. There are things that we want here. We want to shut down Biden's agenda and vote for the things we need. We need a third bridge. We want a wall separating Oregon and Washington. I'm just kidding. We don't need more bike paths. We don't need more gender studies on cats. We need need roads and bridges. We need to cut spending. This is what Republicans are being sent to Congress to do. And if we're going to elect somebody, we should elect someone who has a record of conservatism. Joe Kent has no record of conservatism.
Heidi St. John, did you at one point say if you didn't get Donald Trump's endorsement, you weren't going to run?
I absolutely did say that. And one of the reasons why I started running these ads is because I would like to afford the voters of Southwest Washington the information that I wished I would have had when they would have asked me that question. If I had all the information, and then they would have said, hey, if Donald Trump endorses Joe Kent, and I knew that Joe Kent was a Democrat from Portland, I never would have said I'd vote for him, ever. But I didn't know that. I assumed the dude was a lifelong conservative. You're going to run for Congress. I'm assuming you've been a conservative your whole life. I campaigned as a kid for Ronald Reagan, for crying out loud.
I got to ask you, though. Ronald Reagan, he's one of my benchmarks as well. He was a Democrat for a long time. In fact, he was a union guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Is that a strike against Ronald Reagan that he was a Democrat?
Well, long before he ran for president, remember, he had a record of conservatism. He didn't just jump into the race and go, hey, I'm here, and then we voted him in as president. We watched his record, and we said, this guy can actually get the job done. He was charismatic, by the way, and funny, and a true conservative. And if Joe Kent wants to run for Congress, I got no problem. I'm glad. Welcome to the Republican Party, but the ink isn't even dry on his Republican voting card.
Okay, but
now
I
he
want to
wants to represent us in
Heidi,
Congress.
I want to go back to the question. You said, if I don't get Trump's endorsement, I'm not going to run. Joe Kent got Trump's endorsement. Why are you still running?
I'm still running because I'm the best person for the job. I'm still running because my grandkids live in Southwest Washington State, and they are going to be affected by whoever represents them in the 3rd Congressional District. And I want it to be a true and proven conservative. And I do not believe that Joe Kent has the record to be able to get the job done.
But if you promised to do something and then you didn't do it, how should the voters take that? Are your other promises going? Go ahead.
I didn't have all the information. If I had all the information, and you're going to keep in mind, too, I've thought about this a lot. I made a mistake. I would never have said that had I had all the information at the time. I am a woman of my word. I don't consider this. I consider they asked me a question, and I answered it in the heat of a discussion that no one gave me all the information about. And when I found it out, I was like, for goodness sake,
But you see, Heidi, one of the big strikes, I think, on Jamie Herrera Butler, but one of the big strikes on Jamie Herrera Butler, she voted for impeachment. And I said, I've asked her on the air, why'd you do that? I don't think she had all the information. She somehow believes that the speech that President Trump gave incited a riot and caused all that to happen. And so she voted to impeach him. I don't think she had all the information, but it's your job to get the information. Tell everybody where to find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me at HeidiSt.JohnForCongress.com. And I will say this about getting all the information. Next time someone asks me a hypothetical question like that, I'm going to say, you know what? Let me make sure I have all the information, and then I'll come back with the right answer. That was my, brand new into politics mistake. I'll never make it again.
Fair enough. That's Heidi St. John running for Jamie Herrera Butler's seat. So is Joe Kent. We'll be back in just a moment to get your phone calls and emails.